Hey John, can you hear me?
Hi, Chris.
Can you hear me? You got me
Yeah,
good?
all good.
Okay, I got a fancy microphone set up, and there's a red light on the mute button, so I'm not sure what that means. I guess it's not muted.
Okay. Oh, the red light means you're live, right?
I guess so, yeah. In
Yeah.
showbiz,
Don't say anything rude or offensive, or you can get cancelled. That's why the red
yeah,
light is
exactly.
there.
The hot mic.
It's a hot mic. How you going?
All good, man. My kid's got a eye infection at the moment,
Oh
so we're
no.
kind of dealing with that. But yeah, all good otherwise. How are you?
What age are you little one right now?
He'll be 13 months tomorrow,
Is
so.
he walking around yet, bashing into walls?
Not walking, but crawling at the speed of light. You wouldn't
Okay.
believe. I mean, well, you know the show. But yeah, no, he's good, and he's learning to walk, like shuffling along furniture and that kind of thing. And
Mhm.
we got his first word, which was dog, the past weekend.
Awesome.
Um, yeah, still competing on the whole dada or mama first. I'm every like solo time I get with him, I'm like dada dada dada, just to try and tap the neck.
That's great, man. How'd you like being a parent?
It's great. It's yeah, it is definitely the best thing that I've done. Look, I think I may have said before, but the first, I don't know, it's all blur, but maybe 12 weeks, there wasn't really much bond, much connection for me. But the moment you start getting something back, a smile here and there, the bonds become forged, and yeah, I wouldn't go back. And I got baby fever for the next one now. I want to keep going, but see how my partner comes around.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, look, the thing is when you take him for like his first soccer training session, because I know you're a football guy,
Yeah,
that's going to
yeah,
be like a magic moment. You only got
yeah,
about
for
4
sure.
years to wait.
Yeah, yeah. No, it will be great. I look forward to doing all of that. I mean, that was a big motivation for getting in shape again. It's just to have energy and spend that time with my kid and not feel, battered by 3 p.m., 4 p.m.
What age you know?
30, yes, 30 and a half.
Okay. Yeah, no, I got the same when the kids were born. Like I think our daughter was born when I was 33. And yeah, immediately it was like, oh shit, I gotta get in the gym now and actually like keep myself fit and healthy and take care of myself, like which I'd never really done properly
Yeah,
before.
yeah, it's no longer just about, for you, it's about everyone around you. And it's paid off in spades already. And it's yeah, definitely become a passion. I mean, I see your videos quite frequently whenever you post them on your stories. Do you find that you've got like a bug for like even just like YouTube videos and stuff like that as well?
How do you mean?
So I just consume a lot of weightlifting or nutrition media now.
Oh, okay. Not so much because I like do the same basic shit over and over again, and I basically found over the last 10 years like I got myself a groove of what works for me and fits my lifestyle.
Mm,
I would love to do some martial arts training. I did training with a boxing coach at one point, but like just didn't really fit with the lifestyle. And then also a couple of friends said like, you don't really want to get punched in the head too much. And then I've tried doing some jujitsu training classes with a couple of friends, and I really love that. But it's just the availability where I live is not so suitable. So it's basically
yeah.
what fits my lifestyle.
Yeah, no, I think we've got the same situation, right? Like where I am is quite rural and there's not too much accessibility or facilities. But yeah, like when I lived in Bristol, jiu-jitsu was fantastic. It was right around the corner from me, and it was 3 days a week, and sweaty and fun. But yeah, I think that's a big thing. Is like for so long, I would go to the gym and do what I was supposed to do rather than what like works for my body. And
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what it is, but my shoulders are there's something systemically wrong with my shoulders where they fatigue super quick. So I used to
Mm-hmm.
do boxing and I had no idea why like after 6 months I was still so tired from having my hands in the air in front of me.
Yeah,
I
keeping
like
your guard
fatigued
up
there.
is really tiring.
Yeah, it's super tiring, but like I didn't improve. I didn't feel my stamina go up, and it's because my shoulders. There's something wrong with them. I don't know what it is, whether I'm doing Pilates or whatever. Um, they just fatigue super quick. So like now in the gym, I work around my shoulders, and if I try push through it, I'll injure myself.
I think the thing as well is if you work in copywriting and you understand the nature of claims and how claims get used to sell products, like pretty much
Yeah,
anyone giving fitness advice, just like it smells like bullshit. A lot of it smells like bullshit.
yeah, 100%. And but then even people that aren't incentivized like that is um like we don't know everything. Like I think I've said to you before, but I'm dealing with plantar fasciitis and I've tried everything. You know, I've done the full doctor route, everything that they've recommended from the cortisone shots, physio plans, strengthening plans. Hasn't worked. Nothing has worked for me.
Mhm.
And you know, now it's like doing the real, you know, deep research into the Facebook groups, etc., where people are just sharing their experiences is where I'm starting to have a bit of success. And now I'm, you know, barefoot walking and, and stuff like that to strengthen my foot up.
Okay. Yeah, it's like there's not beyond the like the thing, there's a nexus of bullshit. There's like the whole world is this deeply interconnected web of bullshit now. You can't believe anything anymore. It's unfortunate, but that's
Yeah.
just how it is. You got to figure out what works for you.
Yeah, it's weird, isn't it? Like you think that we'd become more enlightened because more information becomes accessible, but really it's just like there's so much information. The hardest part is knowing what's right and what's wrong and then implementing the stuff that could be right in a way which is low risk, I guess.
Mhm. I there's a cool shoe brand that actually uses quite a bit of direct response type marketing. It's a company called Zero, but with an X instead of a
Mm.
Z. Have you seen their stuff?
Yeah, I just bought from one of their competitors.
Oh, okay. I love Zero. I've bought from them a few times. Their stuff is awesome. The only
Yeah,
problem with it is that for whatever reason, there's something about their stuff that my dog loves to chew at it. So like the last pair I had from them got absolutely chewed to bits one day when I
yeah,
left them sitting around. So I just ordered another pair this week. They're cool. But I
yeah,
love the
right.
way they implement direct response in their advertising.
Yeah, I feel like they're that breed of like the intersection of like something that's existed for a while, but also something that is a bit new and innovative in a health sense. Because the whole thing, I don't know if it's all their shoes, but like why I was looking at Zero versus Vivo was for the plantar fasciitis having like zero drops, so no heel,
Yeah.
having you know a wide shoe so your toes can splay and do what they're supposed to do, that kind of thing. You know, you can imagine guys on Joe Rogan or Modern Wisdom talking about that foot function thing, and it's like it's like a company of that vein, like on it or whatever. So I guess they're a little more switched on than Clark's in the UK would be.
Yeah, look, the whole thing, the argument is, I think, functionally true because I've lived in Fiji where most people don't wear shoes. Like if,
Okay.
town people do, but country folk don't. And like they're a big race of people. But like the lads there, like when they'd come and work in the construction company, we had to get them boots. And some of these country boys, like their foot was like, this wide. Like you couldn't find boots. Like they could find a boot long enough, but you couldn't find a boot wide enough that they could get their feet in. And that's just because they'd grown up with barefoot the whole time, living in the countryside. So they got massive, thick, strong feet.
Yeah. I mean, you think about it, right? Like everyone's familiar with how I don't know, the Chinese ancient dynasties would like wrap their feet of the children, or even how you know ballet dancers do it now, and how their teeth how their feet get kind of condensed
Messed
like
up.
that, and it's like, and we're all like, oh, that is crazy, but we're all kind of, as it turns out, doing that right now
Exactly. Yeah.
on a you know a scaled down version, but yeah, the your feet from the research I've done around it, they're meant to splay and just be that you know, like a trunk of a tree, you know, thick and strong.
Yeah. Hey, look, I'm barefoot right now.
There we go.
I'm basically
Yeah.
trying wearing avoid since I figured all this stuff out and lived in Fiji, I try to avoid wearing shoes unless I have to. But that could actually be good fodder for you to do maybe an offer for in the future.
I'm thinking about it. Yeah. I mean, the big thing for me, if I can solve this plantar fasciitis, which, you know, it's plagued me for 2.5 years and, you know, nothing's worked, then it's definitely something that I'm thinking about because it's just one of those things. There's not really much incentive for anyone to figure out a workable solution that works for everyone. It's, you know, it is something that is a bit niche and relies on everyday people just experimenting.
Yes. This is not a business podcast, by the way. I just talk to people who I feel like talking about. Well, we probably do need to touch on like some of about who you are. So why don't you just like say who you are and what do you do?
To be fair, I didn't realize we'd started, so um,
Rolling
we'll carry
start.
on. Yeah, there we go. Um, so my name's Chris Wright. I do direct response consulting, whether that is marketing strategy, copywriting, conversion rate optimization, and so on, offer creation, all that good stuff. I've been doing it for over 10 years now, probably over 11 or 12 years, something
Oh,
like that.
oh my God.
Yeah, it's all blurred into one. I got into it in, I think, my late teens would have been when I started. And that was just off the back of trying to start many different businesses and nothing really working. And then eventually getting a bit of success in the kind of content writing space and following the money to direct response and marketing and so on. And yeah, I live in a place called Cornwall in the UK. I often
Beautiful
liken it,
spot. Magic
yeah,
place.
some of the time, right? It's been a brutal winter, but I liken it often to Florida for people to understand in the sense that it hangs off the rest of the country into the Atlantic. A lot of people retire down here. We get kind of some of the best weather in the country, um, and yeah, so I live down here with my partner and my child and my dog, and most of the time I'm either writing copy, you know, analyzing data, that kind of thing. Or outside of that, I am in the gym, I'm on dog walks, and more recently, I am destroying Warhammer 40K books because I've
Okay.
just absolutely got the bug, and I've spent a ludicrous amount of money on on fiction recently.
Is that like reading the books or actually playing the game?
Reading the book. So there's the whole kind of tabletop aspect, which is where you buy the models and then paint them and so on. But I don't see myself ever getting into that unless my kid does, because I don't have any artistic ability or like fine detail work, with my hands. So that's not for me. But just the universe is super compelling, super interesting, and it's right now there's kind of eras to it. Right now, I'm reading the Horus Heresy, which is kind of the main underpinning of the modern setting. Yeah,
Okay, means nothing to me.
no,
Sounds like
but
deep nerd talk.
it is 100%. But anyone that gets 40K will understand that completely and appreciate the vintage.
Okay, cool. Um, when you did the agency thing for a while and you've come back to freelancing in the past sort of 6 months after a couple of years away, how do you see it's changed since you were last a freelancer?
I think well, so for me specifically, I've done a lot of work in the financial space as well as many others. Financial was always made up somewhere between when I've been diversified, somewhere between 25 and 50% of the projects I take on, because I just
Mhm.
really enjoy financial. So on the financial side, it's definitely become a bit more consolidated and a little bit the clients tend to be a bit more risk averse or a bit more cautionary on the projects they greenlight now, is the way I would describe it. And I think that's a result of some big legal action that happened, but also just the where those companies are in the cycle right now. During COVID, they had a boom, like many online businesses. Um, Many of the publishers overhired and are reeling in the pullback since, and so that's just the result of those elements. But outside of that, in the more general market, I would say, I don't know, I think in one sense it's the industry is a bit more interconnected than ever before. But kind of what we were talking about earlier, in the vein of like the information available, it's so much easier to reach everyone, to connect with people and so on. But people are a bit more reluctant to hire because there's so many people clamoring to be hired, and the risk that comes with that and the bad experiences that come with that and so on. So from one thing I noticed, that I've got a lot of clients that just keep coming back to me, and are willing to wait, and it's because they know and trust me and they've worked with me, and there's no risk of getting burnt because they know I keep to my word and so on.
Yes. But that's kind of a benefit of actually being in the industry a long time and being well established. You've built that
Mm.
network, right?
Yeah, exactly. And I was talking to someone, one of our mutual friends recently, and saying that um, it takes like two or three clients to really get established, to have more work than you necessarily, know what to do with.
Mhm.
But having those three clients, it's not just about working with the same three people forever. It's also about you, they trust you to refer people to you, and your network will grow very passively if you do good work and you stay true to who you are and what you promise, and you're a likable person. You choose the right clients, and they'll almost sell you for you. It doesn't always happen when you want it to, and it is something which is definitely a long-term strategy. Um, you can't rely on it to pay your bills if you've got a pressing bill next month. But over the long term, I found that I'm never wanting for work, and I'm always being referred people.
That's awesome. You're also kind of a bit of an expert of writing in like markets to do with weight loss. Is that right as well?
Yeah, weight loss, skincare. Those are two particular ones in pretty much female markets. Thinking about it in health, there's things from menopause to skincare to weight loss, and so on. Not exclusively, obviously, had success outside of it, but the female markets is just one that I've always really thrived in, and probably where the people that do know me from, because
Mhm.
I've worked with certain clients that have shouted from the rooftops about how good the work is done.
Yes. Weight loss though in particular, like that's probably the most competitive market out there. Right? That's like the hardest one to crack. Everyone says it.
Yeah, definitely. It's everyone wants to be in it because it is, the biggest offers take nine figures. They, they really clear up, and it's almost like a flywheel of success because so much of direct response is built on affiliate traffic. And so if these offers are getting to nine figures, it means that person that's built the or done the nine figures in sales, they then sell drops to their email lists, run affiliate offers, and basically it creates successful weight loss offers, create more customers, which creates more affiliates, and so on. It just keeps churning and churning and churning. And yeah, just it's a big monster, and everyone wants a piece of the pie.
What do you think was it that you've done that's made you be able to be successful in like in a market that in the most competitive market like that? What have you done?
I think um I think part of it is about understanding copy on a much deeper level, than what a lot of other people might do at times. And so this really it comes back away from copy and into like just pure marketing strategy and doing the research and so on. And what I mean by that is that because I came up in financial copywriting, that's where I started this whole thing. I learned to conceptualize copy and to do a ton of research and to dig and take a piece of information that could be promising and look at it and see 10 different ways that I could present it in marketing copy, and so on. So conceptualization, and being able to basically understand copy on a deeper level. Whereas a lot of the time, a lot of copy out there is written from a template or a preordained kind of structure, and people are looking at other promos and seeing what has worked and basically rewriting those promos with a new lick of paint. And that can work absolutely. But where I've had success is by doing stuff that I haven't really heard anyone else talk about or do. And um, part of that, for example, is really trying to nail down a very specific voice, in the copy that I'm writing. It's not just about writing in, if I'm writing from the perspective of a female, um, of a woman. It's not about kind of trying to come up with that in my head. I'm finding videos of people who I want to sound like, and then I'm analyzing them, and not just in terms of the words they use, but the rhythm of their speech, how they structure arguments. all of that stuff. If you find the right person, you're and you are able to analyze and really get their patterns down, your copy can become borderline hypnotic because you're combining your persuasive message with the market's voice. And so that's always been really powerful. And then I think part of it is just being super neurotic, to be honest, and not being super happy with my copy ever, and just digging at it until it's not bad anymore. And generally, I think to anyone else, that would mean it's pretty good copy. But to me, I'm still just seeing the flaws.
But on the stuff that you've done that's been most successful, like how many times have you had to go back and do like rounds of rewrites till you got to a situation where this is actually working and making money?
So this kind of division of that. So there's pre-client receiving it and post-client receiving it. Pre-client receiving it, whatever piece of copy I write, I've probably rewritten it like 3 times. And not all in one go. It's not like I write top to bottom and then scratch it off and go again. It's more like the individual sections. I'm an iterative writer. I'm not saying it's the only way to write copy, but it's the way I do it is that I will write something and it won't quite be there. So I'll rewrite it and then I'll rewrite it. And it's like layering on I don't know, better copy, I guess. And so I'll rewrite tons of stuff. I can't think of a first draft I've ever been happy with, or even, a second or third draft. I rewrite a lot. Sometimes I write just to figure out what the right next step is because sometimes it's hard to conceptualize and you need to see it on paper. Post, and so generally, the more I do that, the more likely the offer that I'm writing is going to succeed. Post, in terms of post client delivery, how many rewrites there? Not very many, to be honest. Oftentimes as well, you got to bear in mind that to some degree that this game of direct response is guesswork to some degree. Like you can be experienced and know what you're doing and follow proven good working practice and principles. But what I say to every client is ultimately only the market knows what will work with 100%. I can get you 95% of the way there, but there's this 5% which is really hard to pin down, and literally only the market can tell. And it might be that your story is the wrong story, the mechanism is the wrong mechanism, and so on. And so when I'm working with clients, even before I deliver the copy, I'm thinking about how I can take that 5% that only the market knows and keeps close to its chest and minimize the risk in there that whatever it is doesn't work for them. If it's a VSL, for example, that means delivering 3 or 4 leads along with the full script. And then that helps to minimize. And just doing stuff like that. If I'm writing, if it's a back end promo, for example, in financial publishing, they run a lot of editorial. So if I have an idea, I'll see about getting an editorial made about it, not directly on the idea I want to hit, but something derivative of it. And as a result, we can kind of see where people are interested. If they are, then that 5% risk is reduced a little bit more. So
Okay, so you can test ideas on in-house promos before you develop them out into something that might be a front end.
yeah, and that works it's mainly for a back end, to be honest. In financial, for people that aren't familiar, the front end generally is like a $79, $39 newsletter, and the back end is typically a $2,000 trading service, sometimes the newsletter as well.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes other things as well, but that business model relies entirely on those back ends working. However, in a health context, I've not done this personally, but I've got peers who have had an offer work really well to their in-house list, but as soon as they take that externally, it doesn't work at all. So sometimes you got to recognize the context there. The context in that one is that list already has a good relationship with the doctor, and that trust kind of is what made it work internally, but externally that trust doesn't exist and therefore it didn't work.
Yeah, I mean, for people I've seen that do really well with cold. It's like they really know how to grab somebody by the neck and hype
Mm.
the hell out of them very quickly, and really dig into curiosity and pain in like instantly almost.
Yeah, yeah, attention is everything. People overlook it all the time. But another thing that they don't overlook it, what I mean by that is that they take it for granted, or they don't work hard enough. But the point I want to make there is that after attention comes comprehension. And I think this is where a lot of uh, if you think about like a bell curve with copywriters or anyone related to the copy sphere, on one end, so bottom left, it's like people are writing copy that is just like too simple. The market's heard about the offer before, or the idea isn't novel, or they're being a bit too direct potentially in certain markets, whatever. Then in the middle, you've got like copywriting. Well, at the top of the curve, you've got you know complex persuasion tactics and a master, well, maybe not masterfully woven, but you've definitely got a complex narrative that makes a lot of sense to the copywriter. But then on the bottom right, where the best copy is produced, it's back to that the simple stuff. And um, the simple stuff at that part of the bell curve for me is about comprehension. I would much rather my message be able to be understood, my narrative be able to, be intuitively understood. So not just like understood from a logical perspective, but someone can read that and like they just get it. They don't have to analyze it. They don't have to think it. They just get it. Um, then how I would rather that be the case than be weaving all these kind of tactics and strategies that are Robert Cialdini-esque influence principles, right? You can weave them in for sure, but the priority after attention has to be comprehension. If people aren't able to understand your work or your writing or your speaking style, then you won't be able to persuade them. So all those tactics and principles won't matter at that point.
Yeah, this is really hard lesson to learn, especially because typically the people who are attracted to copywriting are, well, they're word nerds. They're people who like books and writing and reading, and those people generally tend to like outperform in terms of verbal intelligence. Whereas they're typically writing, if you're writing to a broad market audience, you're writing to people who are basically less well educated for the most part than you are as the writer. So it's very easy to slip into writing stuff that's overcomplicated and confusing to your typical reader.
100%. Um, it's it's the goalposts are being moved. When I had the agency, this is a big thing that my team would fall into is like you're on project for a month if it's a long form script of any kind. You're on project for a month and you're becoming an expert in what you're reading about, whether it's dental health or affiliate marketing or whatever you're writing about. And as you consume that information day in, day out, 5 days a week for a month, your floor of understanding raises and raises and raises. And you suddenly, if you're not careful, you can think that everyone knows just a bit less than what you do. And really, like you've surpassed so much and what you're writing, um, isn't quite making sense to the market you're writing to. And on that, another thing I say as well is that it's not just about the intelligence of a market. I tend to think that everyone I write to has, at least an average degree of intelligence, but where the simplicity and the lower grade reading levels need why we do that is because you can never control when people are consuming your marketing. So if right at the top of this, we were talking about my kid having an eye infection and he's been waking up in the night. And so if you put a marketing message in front of me after he's been up 5 times in the night, I'm not gonna be able to understand anything that's complex because I'm tired, I'm fatigued. Likewise, your customer may have just come home from a 12-hour shift, or they have the demands of life pulling on them, and people are strained and they're pulled in a million directions, and that's why your copy needs to be really easy to understand, especially if it's written form. A good example of that is when you read a set of novels, and I'm a big fiction guy now, but you'll read a certain author for, let's say, 3 books, and then you'll go to another author, and you will struggle for like 100 pages to really understand, to read, to get sucked into what they're writing, because just because their prose is different, they might not be a worse author or a better author, they're just different. And so like you got to be careful with prose, you got to be careful with all these things, but yeah, the most important thing is just grab their attention and then don't confuse them.
Yeah, that's where I found that I've struggled the most. It's like that, the meme, like there's the dumb guy on the left and the Jedi on the right, and there's the
Yeah,
mid and there's the guy with the glasses in the middle, the midwit. And I always end up finding myself in the midwit space where like overcomplicating this shit, and the dumbass and the master are both super simple.
yeah, and that's the bell curve, right? So it's you really it that and that's the biggest block, I would say, or what's the word, like you reach a degree of competency with understanding copy and marketing, and that I would say is the big block that people struggle to break through to go to the next level. It's just like understanding that none of all the tactics and all of that matter more than just being simple.
Hmm. The tactics are kind of sold to us by people in the kind of education part of the market, because they have to be sold, because there has to be some sexy new thing that's gonna make all the difference for you if you just buy this product. But in the
Yeah,
end, it really is just get out and do the thing.
yeah, get out, do the thing. Because in the same vein, you could, no matter what you're doing, whether you're launching an offer or working on a project for a client, um, it's getting out there and doing the thing. Like you could do the paralysis by analysis by focusing on all the tactics and strategies, etc. But the reality is, all that stuff can be layered on once you've just done the most important stuff, done the 80/20, presented a simple message that people can understand, that is compelling and presents a really good offer.
Even when you think or you are aware of this stuff because you've been doing it for a while, you're still susceptible to it. Like I was reading a sales letter for an AI product yesterday that was like an info product related to copywriting. And by the time I'd like read through the page and watched the VSL on page, it's like, shit, I need to get this. Like, I really need this. And then I
Yeah,
just
yeah.
had my moment of clarity. I was like, this is not going to change anything. I've just been sucked into the message, and I actually don't need to buy this right now. And I just put it away. But like, it was still good.
Yeah, 100%. It's always quite funny because sometimes people get on their high horse a little bit about the customers that we sell to. They kind of lose that respect for the customers in direct response, and then stuff like that happens, and we realize that we are those customers, that we get sucked into the same thing. And copywriting and marketing is no different. Every so often, a new big program comes out that gets everyone excited, and everyone buys into it, and then often it's forgotten, within a handful of weeks after the hype dies down.
Yeah, it's a very, very trend driven industry. But I guess all industries are. It's just the one that we're in every
Yeah,
day. So we see it.
yeah, it's just humans being humans.
Yes. And I think as well, the business of what we're selling is we're selling ideas all the time rather than products. So
Yeah, ideas and
they're
dreams.
intangibles.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And it's also kind of there's a lot of proof around. I guess again it applies to every market, but there's a lot of people who are very visible with their successes, and once you know that something's possible, you want to achieve it yourself, and then it just becomes about that mechanistic aspect, that you knowing the secret that you can use to achieve X goal, whether it's income or property or what you own.
Mm-hmm. I mean, look, I started this stuff late in life. Like I got my first copywriting client like not long after my 38th birthday. And so like sometimes I feel like, damn, like I kind of started late. Um, and then when I talk to somebody like you, who's like, started when you were a teenager, it's like, oh, that's the reason. It's like I just haven't been doing this long enough. It's like because you've been doing this 13 years, even though you're still a young person. And it really, what it seems like every time I talk to people who are doing well or far ahead of me, the one thing that stands out is like they've been doing it longer, usually quite a
Mm.
lot longer.
Yeah, and I guess it's the slow building of relationships. And I would say as well, like nothing, very few, very little of the business side of what I've done has been optimized. Definitely the copy, like that's what I've been in. But for a good 5 years, I wasn't very public. I never posted on Facebook. I didn't want anyone to know me. I just wanted to do the work and get better at like that. And I think I could be further along if I had done that, but it's not something that I regret doing. But it's just, I mean, the one thing that's interesting about being in the market for so long is you just see cycles of what, of we talked about the financial industry, financial publishing industry. I've seen cycles of that. I know exactly how that business works during up markets, down markets, what happens, etc. But also just from the things that people start to get excited about in the, let's say, copywriting world, which we're obviously very familiar and intimate with. It's like every, let's say, 3 years or so, there'll be a huge push towards writing copy as quickly as possible. And someone or multiple people will be selling courses on it and so on. And you never hear what happens to that copy. How does it do? How does it perform? I'm sure, 1 in 10 must do well or whatever. Maybe that's generous, maybe it's not, but it's like I've seen this cycle a few times now. Or another cycle you see is that when times get a bit tight and projects aren't as available, suddenly everyone is starting a mentorship program or an email list. And I'm not knocking it; it's completely fine. But like it's what I'm saying is it's nice to be detached a little bit with the perspective of time and experience. That I'm not going to go into a panic about things and changes and the way the market's moving. And I can't get existential about much in the industry now in terms of what it means for me and my family and the people I care about in the industry, because I've just seen these cycles play out, and people adapt. If anything is long-standing, people in our industry will find a way to turn it to our advantage rather than it being to the detriment and so on.
The current hype cycle in the last 12 months, of course, has been AI. And
Yeah.
lots of big claims, lots of hype, and people are definitely using it a lot to do a lot of work. But then I'm starting to see more and more like backlash from like influential people, like Kevin Rogers was kind of talking about this week from Copy Chief, how a lot of and he does a lot of consulting with companies and helps them recruit. It's like a lot of them are getting pissed off. They feel like AI is actually reducing the quality of what their contractors are turning in.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't surprise me. It's that push to get work done as quickly as possible because copywriting, direct response, it is presented as a lifestyle business that lets you work the 4 hour work week. And, the reality is it's not often like that. And so people try to expedite it. That's why you get the hype around writing copy as quickly as possible that I mentioned. But yeah, I see it. I mean, it's, I don't know. It's one of those things. It definitely scared everyone for a good period of time, but it's bedded in now. And actually, those tools, in a lot of cases, unless you really know how to work the programs, which I think is a barrier, is a moat. A lot of those tools have gone backwards because they've had rules put on them so they don't say the wrong thing and so on, and it's kind of neutered them to some degree, even though they weren't necessarily at the copywriter replacing level just yet.
Yes. Chris, I'm going to put your details in the bottom of the video description, but where is the best place for people to find you and learn more about you?
Just purely on Facebook. So facebook.com/Chris Wright O, the letter O, and you'll find my profile.
Okay. Thank you so much for coming today. Really appreciate it.
Cheers, Joe. Is that ended?